Hello, Bay Ridge. Welcome to another edition of After Hours. This week I wanted to talk about how we move from discouragement and doubt to delight. On Sunday we were looking at how God's promises can lead us to discouragement and doubt. We saw this in the history of Israel. And it's because God's timing is usually not ours. We're a lot like little children. We're simply not patient. In the words of the old Doors song, we want the world and we want it now. And when there's a delay, it often leads to discouragement and doubt inside of our soul. And so this is a reality for every Christian. We were talking about that on Sunday. If you're going to walk with God and you're trying to live in obedience to his commands and you're trying to receive and embrace his promises to us, there's going to be a delay very often. We see that this is God's normal pattern of working. And the danger in that delay, while God is using it for our good, to form and shape our character, to increase our endurance, to bring himself glory, we struggle with discouragement and doubt rising out of that. So how do we move from discouragement and doubt to delight rather than disobedience? Well, I think that there are 3 or 4 basic steps that would be really important for us. First, I encourage us to recount the biblical story to remind myself of God's faithfulness in history. This is what we talked about last week in After Hours in episode 44. And in essence, what we're saying is make it historical. The fact that I'm experiencing a delay in the fulfillment of God's promises puts me in good company with God's people throughout history. Secondly, I encourage you to let other people who are experiencing delight in their current moment remind me and encourage me and pray for me, to speak to me God's promises, to encourage me in them, to pray for me right then, because we all go through seasons of life. Sometimes when you're down, I'm experiencing God's faithfulness at the moment, and then later on, I'm going to be struggling with doubt and discouragement, and you're experiencing God's faithfulness. So in this case, we make it communal. Just like I'm part of God's work and his people throughout history, I'm also part of God's community, the church, and I'm not meant to walk through this alone. Thirdly, I remind myself of God's faithfulness in my own past, and I give him thanks again for having done that. So in other words, I'm making it personal. Just as it's historical, just as it's communal, it's also personal. If you've been walking with God for any length of time, you have seen and experienced where after a delay, he made his promises come true. He met you in your deepest moment of need. And so we recount that. We speak that to ourselves. So it's God's people in the past, God's people in the present, and then we are speaking it ourselves. And then finally, we look for evidence of God's faithfulness in my present life, both small and big. So I'm making it current. It's not just about what God's done in the past in the life of others or in my own life, nor is it just about what God's doing it in other people's lives. At all times, even during the delay, God is giving small evidences of his grace, ways that he is working in us, and we need to have our eyes open. Rather than looking at and lamenting what is missing, we note and we give thanks for what God is already at work doing. So we make it historical, we make it communal, we make it personal, and we make it current. And so I encourage you, as you're walking through this, don't check out of the process. Wrestle with God. Lay it out before him. Talk to him in prayer. Walk through these steps until discouragement and doubt fade and delight returns. If we do this, God will grant us the desires of our heart. We will find ourselves moving from lamentation to praise, from discouragement and doubt to delight. I hope this is helpful. I hope you have a great week. I look forward to seeing everybody at the work party on Saturday. And then as we gather again to worship this Sunday and learn about the Advent promise endangered. God bless.